Before proceeding with iteration 4, I noticed I forgot to commit and push my changes. So let's go to source control and say commit. And it will display to you the changes we made, and we'll push to remote with it. So we'll say completed iteration 3, app now creates and displays a color using the red component. Alright, that's iteration 3 that we just finished. So commit and push. Alright, so to go for iteration 4, constructing the color using the red and the blue. So it's very similar to 3, but now we add another component. Now we figured out how to do one of them. We go to red and blue components. I'm going to stay disciplined and follow the process. So problem formulation, and I'll say that what's the scope is to user enters values for both red and the blue components, and the app displays the color. And how are we going to test this? We have several scenarios. So testing scenario 1 is repeat testing scenarios from iteration 3. We have to make sure that the testing scenarios from before are all implemented. Then we go to testing scenario 2. We need to redo the same test but on the blue. So we'll say, so we'll put the blue to 0, run with the red, then put the red to 0. So red to 0 and blue 0. App displays black, and then we'll say red to 0 and blue to 1. So the app displays blue, and then the scenario 4, red to 1 and blue to 1. The app will displays, I believe it will be yellow. And then you can add some more for different combinations between the two to see the different varieties. So then solution formulation. So first the model, which represents the data. No change to the data from iteration. Actually, there is one change. In iteration 3, blue was 0. So now blue is not a constant. Blue will be a decimal number between 0 and 1. So we'll say in the model, same as iteration 3, except blue is now a variable between 0 and 1 that will be represented by a float type, a float data type. All right, so let's go with the view. The view, we need to add another slider to represent the blue color and set its attributes and properties. And we will need to connect to that slider as both outlet. So the blue slider to be connected as outlet and connected as action. Now here a question. In the iteration 3, as you can see in the code, we had a function called display color that was connected to the red slider. So now when we have another slider, should we make another function for the blue, or should the blue also activate or connect to the display color? The way you determine that question, or to answer that question, is to ask yourself, are the steps inside the function different when it's the blue slider that initiated it or the red slider that initiated it, or are the 3 steps the same? If the 3 steps the same, there's no need to make another function, because the 3 steps are the algorithms, what actually going to happen. The sliders represent the initiators. You can have more than one initiators to the same action, to the same response. So the response of reading the data setting the color, displaying the color is the same response, whether it's a red slider that initiated it or a blue slider that initiated it, or in the next iteration the green or the alpha. So we'll connect to the same display color function. So I don't need to worry about the algorithm here, except I need to add an instruction to retrieve the blue color and use it instead of the literal 0. Literal is like constant, all right, because we used 0 in the other one. We used the blue with 0. So now here we're going to have to read the blue as well. So finally, the implementation. So 4.3 is solution implementation. And we'll say step 1 in the solution implementation, add a UI slider instance to the view and set its attributes. Connect the new slider instance as an outlet. Connect the new slider instance to the display color function. So we're not making a new one. It's the same function. And then add instructions to read the value of the blue slider, and then replace the 0 in the color instance initialization with the value of the blue slider, and then run the test. So these are the steps I need to make. So let's go ahead and make them. I'll go back to the standard editor, bring my utility area. I need the slider and add another slider. Reset the slider. I'm gonna align it with the other slider, and then the attributes, maybe I will start it at 0.25, the 0 and 1 and correct. The minimum track, I'm gonna use blue, and I'm gonna use the same blue for the thumb. And that's it. I already have the view and I already have the red. So now I bring in the assistant editor, and I'm going to take out the utility and the project navigation. So I need to connect the slider. So press Control and drag from the slider. It's an outlet, and I'm going to call it slider blue. So SLD and blue, and connect. So now I have one slider for the red that connects to the red slider, one for the view, and one for the blue slider. Then my display color function is connected only to the red slider. See the plus sign that appears when I hover over the circle? Drag from that plus sign to the blue slider, and now both sliders are connected to the function, meaning that moving or changing the value in either one will cause the function to display the new color, which is really what we want to do. Alright, so now what is left for me, so I did the slider, made the connection. I need to change the add instruction to read the value of the blue slider. So I can add it here, or I like to show space, so go to the standard editor view. And then I need, this is the step 1. I need to expand step 1 to be slider red and blue instances. So it's going to be exactly the same. I need to do exactly the same instructions, but with the red slider, and create another memory. So I'll use the let and say blue value equal slider blue, and use the dot operator to access the value of that slider and assign it to the memory location that's called blue. Now, in the next step, step 2, constructing the instance of the color, I use the red value for the value of the red. and I used 0 for green, which will stay 0. And then for the blue, I use 0. So I no longer need to use 0 because I have a blue value. So I'll just type blue value. And then I used 1 for the alpha, which will remain as 1. Step 3 is not going to change because I already created a color. I just changed the mix in that color I'm creating. And now that color is assigned to the background of the color view. So let's go ahead and test. So I am done with these 2 steps. And now we test. It takes some time. Sometimes it runs quickly. Sometimes it takes might be slower here because I'm recording while I'm doing this. So now if I move the slider, I have a new color. So let's run our testing scenarios. So I have put the red to 0 and put the blue to 0. I get black. Keep the red 0, put the blue to 1, I have blue. Take the red to 1, oh, I get purple, not yellow. You can see how much I know about those. It's the green and red that gives me yellow. And then go between, so move this blue, move this, so you start to create some different combinations of the purple color as you mix the red with the green, with the blue together. Alright, so that completes this iteration. So we're done with iteration 4. And you probably now feel a lot more comfortable to move on with the 5th iteration. And we're still missing the green and the alpha. And we'll do that in the next video.